What's going on in our schools these days? You may have heard of the situation where a young student was arrested for bringing a clock into school. So what are your rights if your child is wrongly accused? And Tony DeFazio is here from DeFazio and Zeidin. And what's the take on that?
Well, look, if you're suspended in New York, there are specific rules that are set up to protect you and your child from the school district. And basically, the school has the right to suspend you for up to 5 days, basically for any reason. So what normally will happen is if your son or daughter is in trouble, they'll be called into the principal's office and they will have to speak to the principal. And they'll be told, listen, you're going to be suspended. They'll give them a letter. They'll take that letter and they'll take that home, and hopefully that student gives it to their parents. And they basically and what will happen is either on that letter or within a day, you will be notified, the parent, that there is a hearing for your son or daughter. Now, every school district does this differently, but the rule says that you're entitled to that hearing in 5 days, or they have to let your son or daughter back into school. Now, it's very important that you know what school district you're in and who you're dealing with, because everybody does it a little differently. Some school districts, it's an informal procedure. You basically can call the assistant principal or the principal of the school, and they will talk to you a day or two before the hearing, and you can see what is the problem. Is this a long-standing issue? Is this a one-off situation where you accidentally hit someone or something like that? Is this something where they're going to end the suspension and just put you on probation or something? But a lot of school districts have changed that policy, and now they're taking a much more formal approach. So what will happen is you'll walk into the hearing on the 5th day, the hearing which will not be adjourned, which will not be changed, and you'll be sitting there across from an attorney who represents the school district, along with the school principal, assistant principal, and somebody from the school district. And there will be a hearing officer there. Now, with many districts, somebody from the assistant superintendent or superintendent will actually be the hearing officer. But in some, they don't. In some, they actually go out and hire independent hearing officers. So whether you want to work something out or not, they're going to do the hearing that day. And based on that and the facts that they determine, they're going to take additional punishment against your son or daughter.
And so a situation that you're wrongly accused for a child, is it something that sticks with them on their record, or?
Well, what happens is, you always hear about the permanent record card. You're always afraid that permanent record card is going to exist for the rest of your life. When you do something as a student, it stays in your school record. It's not something, though, that's going to extend on to your life record. It's not a criminal record. If you get suspended, it's not something that will follow you outside of school. You're protected. Those records are protected. But there are other issues that can come up as a student or as a child or young adult that can get you into trouble down the road. The biggest one, which people don't know about, is the rules on drugs with student loans. And what happens is a federal law that was put in place over 25 years ago. And the rule says that if you are convicted of any drug crime, possession of heroin, possession of cocaine, possession of marijuana, including unlawful possession of marijuana, which is such a minor crime in New York that you cannot even be sentenced to anything other than a $100 fine. But if you get convicted of those crimes, or if you walk into court and plead guilty to one of those crimes, you cannot get student loans for college. So basically, a small amount of marijuana and a conviction in some justice court in Dutchess County or around the Hudson Valley, and you can end up never being able to go to college. You think about how much millions of dollars you basically cost yourself by just walking into court.
What about the situation where a teenager might say, you know what, this is so minor, I'm going to handle this myself so my parents don't know about it? And then you start the process of applying for loans, and then...
Well, typically you'll have that. You know, I sit in a lot of justice courts, and you will see sometimes kids walking up to judges and with charges of unlawful possession of marijuana and saying, well, can I just plead guilty or something like that? 90% of the judges that I've seen will tell them to stop, get a lawyer, go to the public defender, do something. Because 90% of the judges know that if this kid pleads guilty to this, your life has been ruined. And I don't see a parent there, and I don't see anybody else, so nobody really is paying attention to what their rights are. So you have to, even though kids will try to do that to just avoid it because it's a minor crime, and they figure I'll just pay the $100 and my mom and dad won't know about it. You've got to make sure that from your standpoint, your children know if you get into trouble for any reason, a ticket or a drug charge, that they come to you, because they could make a mistake that they think is not a big deal, and it will cost them way down the line, and especially when you're applying to colleges.
So looking forward, advice you would give to people in these instances of wrongfully being accused or, possession of, a misdemeanor, less than a misdemeanor?
Sure. Well, anytime when you're dealing with anytime you're dealing with any kind of a crime and they're bringing you into court, you should at least speak to an attorney. Whether you want to hire that attorney or whether you go to the public defender, you've got to talk to somebody. And you can't just get it from your friends. Everybody's got, dime store lawyers, and everybody will give you free legal advice, but rarely is that any good. When you go out and you pay for something, you're going to get usually a better quality product than if you don't. So get some legal advice, find out what's going on, and let the lawyer do that talking for you, and it will save you. It might cost you a little money now, but it will save you down the road, and that's what you've got to be looking for. And you've got to move quickly on it, especially when you get that letter on a school suspension situation, because if you don't make that call immediately, you're going to walk into that hearing, and decisions are going to be made, and it's too late for you to do anything about it.
All right. Okay, great advice. Tony DeFazio from DeFazio and Zeiden on Your Right to Know. We'll see you next time.